Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Ben the Human Plays Vagrus The Riven Realms. I've done a little bit off camera. I went and got as much metal as I could from Scrap Heap and then I loaded up on wood because my thought was we could test out the path heading south to Avernum, because we also have to look for the banner that those guys stole and headed to Avernum as well. So yeah, I figured we'd try that today. So let's go talk to Botheus and tell him we need to pick up Ghazi in order to travel past the Voiceless Lake. Splendid, Botheus says, beaming. Come, I'm sure we'll find him in the lounge, the scoundrel. Making your way as you once did through the labyrinthine confines of the pavilion, you eventually come to the silk curtain, which Botheus pulls aside. The lounge, now rich with the smell of honeyed perfumes and rich incense, is busier now. Many, if not most, of the tables and couches are bustling. You find Ghazi socializing with an array of unique individuals at a nearby table, his demeanor calm and cool. These days, since the defeat of the slug creatures, a lot more folks seem to frequent the bountiful glade. Vagrus, Ghazi greets you. Good to see you here again. Are we to face the wasteland together? You tell him that you are. Wonderful, he says, letting his roguish smile loose. Let me get my kit together and say goodbye to these good folk. A fair amount of flattery and a short spiel later, the man disappears only to return adorned in quality rugged trappings with a rucksack to boot. You give him directions to join up with your Comis, and before long you are alone again with Botheus. You will see Ghazi at the Comitatus when you see fit. Yeah, we'll head back and then leave. And then we head south. I assume this is how this goes. Why is our morale so low? These are the questions. So we just go like this? Right? Where's the Voiceless Lake? Are you the Voiceless Lake? I guess we'll find out. Our morale's going back up. No worries. Let's just fully guard until our morale gets back to full, and then we can mess around with our vigor. Oh, it's because we're crowded camps. Duh. How many people do I have? Too many, apparently. We'll deal with that in Avernum. You can kind of combat the morale loss from crowded camps by fully guarding. Okay. That doesn't really look like the Voiceless Lake, does it? The Voiceless Lake lies ahead of you as far as the eye can see, dead silent and slightly distorted by the heat-induced mirage. Only occasionally do the loud cracks of its treacherous dark crust break the ominous tranquility. Yet the telling stench of brimstone that hangs in the air is the constant reminder that beneath the dark charred surface, impossibly hot death awaits those who do not tread lightly. Oh, is the Voiceless Lake actually like a lava flow? For some reason, I thought it was an actual lake. To the east, the desert of black sands spans the horizon. Although its dunes seem devoid of any movement in life, they are far from being safe to cross. The eerily glowing silhouette of dread Arx Mortis looms ominously over the landscape, and you have to make a conscious effort to keep your eyes off of it. It looms much larger than its actual proximity would warrant, according to your charts, so you are certain that some form of sorcery or trickery is at play. Going closer would tempt fate and bring calamity upon the Comitatus. We've already been there, don't worry about it. Thus, the way forward lies between the dark sands and the potentially lethal crust covering the lake, but that path can be mighty difficult to find. Worse, due to the liquid fire's infernal activity beneath the Voiceless Lake's hard surface, the border between the safer sands and the treacherous crust always changes, and the new safe course remains unseen. The crew is anxious to proceed, but they try not to show it, and instead look to their Vagrus to give the order. We have a very high chance of success. 100 out of 100. Is that because we have Ghazi with us? Going step by step, listening carefully to any telltale sounds while sweating profusely, every member of the Comitatus manages to make it through. After hours that felt like days, you can turn away from the accursed lake and pick up the pace again. The crew becomes animated, even joking about the constipated silence that came before. All right. Well, that was easy. Yeah, I wonder how it goes if you don't have Ghazi with you. Might be a much harder check. Can we go back north is an interesting question I just had, or thought I had. Yeah, we'll go into Avernum from the back way. Neat. I've heard people say... Oh, no chance to succeed there. I've heard people say that this trail can be really lucrative. We are dreaming. We walk to the light. I've had that dream before. It's not all that special. Oh, there is no back entrance to Avernum? Why did I think you could get in from the back side? Clearly I'm insane. Good thing we have a lot of supplies. In we go. Approach the guard. Nothing to hide. We're buddies. And there we are. Alright, let's sort out this crowded camp situation. Let's sell all of this. And then I would like to smelt all of my metal, actually. So we go to the forges, smelt scrap metal, smelt a great amount, smelt a large amount, smelt the metal, smelt the metal, smelt the metal, smelt the metal. Good. We'll ask around about that in a second, but I want to sort out my crew right now. So we have way too many scouts. That's probably the problem. Are we still crowded camp? We are still crowded camps, which is kind of weird. How are we doing on a labor front? 32 out of 20. That's pretty high too. There we go. There. That's good. 25, 34. And then we might as well mount up some of you guys. You're just standing around otherwise. It's kind of interesting because I have all of my mounts in the interstitial realm. So I have the Yurg, which I vastly prefer to anything else, but they're all in the portal. So I'll have to like take some time to go get them or something. All right, how are we doing on metals here? Ooh, look at that. Loads of metal. I kind of think we should round out the stacks that we have. Just so they're fully filled. There we go. And then we would like to get some more beasts of burden so we have our full cargo. All right, let's go see if we can't find these dudes with the lost Aquila. This will probably take the rest of the day. Well, the good news is I don't have a lot of movement left. Folks in Avernum's Scoria district are hardly a talkative lot. You move through dirty, soot-filled streets, past beggars, workers, and slaves, getting little more than a sob story here and there. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the smelters are most standoffish, but your perseverance pays off. After numerous hours, when a group of workers in the foundries confides in you. They tell you that a group of rowdy men, one of whom was well soused, were here a while back. They looked like hollow men. They seemed to carry a long pole or spear wrapped in leather. They sought smelters of a particular variety, ones who were willing to work with a modicum of discretion. After a few quick questions soon further elucidate the matter. There are hollow men. These are the hollow men you have been looking for. One worker in particular, a bulky, black-bearded fellow, speculates on what might have happened to the men. Listen, he begins, keen to share his own little morsel of the truth. Smelters Guild is a splintered faction, yeah? Bloody well lose track of who's in here, we do. There's some shady types. We call themselves Caderis. They're probably working with them soldierly men you were looking for, he says before scratching his soot-covered nose. You ask the man where you might find the so-called Caderis. He shakes his head. Real covert fuckers, them. Keep everything mum, yeah? Reckon you've got a chance if you scour the city. Ask around, you know. Slums are good. Plenty of drunk down on their luck fools who'll talk all kinds of shite. Reckon there's something more to find in Scoria. Then again, I would nay count on it, he adds, falling silent. The soldiers might show themselves too, an elderly worker with glassy eyes tells you. The old one who was well pissed, he ain't got no self-control, I tells ya. Drew the ire of some dubious characters. Make your way around the district, check with the watering holes and the like. You might catch a whiff of something. After some more direct questions, several other locales of interest around the district are mentioned, all of which seem like good places to start your investigation. The first is a name that rings strangely familiar, the Gallows Anvil. The rest are shops, taverns, and hovels that are abundant in the slums. The depths of the soot-covered slums are labyrinthine in nature, and a long time needs to be spent to cover every nook and cranny. Still, the information you garner from the foundry workers should prove invaluable. There is yet hope. You thank the men and take your leave. It is time to consider your next move. The hour is late, the day long, and there is no more time for investigation. Instead, you retire with your commies to the Manzio, where at least a comfortable bedroll awaits you. All right. 'Tis the next day. Yeah, we'll get our vigor back. Okay, back to Scoria. Yeah, let's check out the slums and investigate leads about this so-called Cadaris. This will probably take the rest of the day. The slums of Scoria are among the most foul, dingy, and dilapidated locales you've seen. Your previous ventures led you into their depths, but not knowing the lay of the land nor where precisely to look, little of interest came to the fore. This time around, the soot-covered faces of those who labor in the shadows under the most impoverished circumstances appear to recognize you, if only in passing. You visit several establishments, eventually finding the one that seems of the most interest, Gallows Anvil. Inside, there is a smattering of denizens common out here, laborers, haulers, smelters, their novices, and merchants alike, but none of them have any information worth a changer. The banter you share with the clientele at the Anvil does give you another lead, however. There is a man, almost a mythic figure if the laborers of the Anvil are to be trusted, who frequents the nearby bathhouse. His name is Manidus, and among the workers in the district he is knowledgeable about many affairs of the Smelters Guild, even Cadaris, or so they say. He is also a master craftsman. He functions much like their leader and is apparently a smith with a high reputation. You get his description and depart shortly after. With few other leads, you take their directions and head to the nearby bathhouse. The worst of the slums fades from view as you approach the edge of the district. The bathhouse at the bottom of the hill takes after Avernum's upper regions, ones free from the smoke and soot of Scoria. After you gain admittance, the bathhouse's inner confines open up to you. A waft of thick, humid air greets you, enveloping the group in a distinct musk. This is not the best of the bathhouses you have visited, nor is it the worst. The mosaic floor is cracked and lines of disrepair snake along the walls, shadows clinging to their corners. Sparsely dispersed candles provide illumination in centralized rooms, while other more obscure and specialized facilities appear to have fallen into a state of decay. As expected, most clientele are in the tepidarium, inhabiting various states of relaxation. You stop to ask where one might find Manidus, and a slender fellow points wordlessly to what you presume is the caldarium, or hot room, where you see two figures chatting on a chipped marble bench. Perhaps anticipating your need for his counsel, the man known as Manidus, a formidable yet graceful figure of chiseled muscle, holds the palm of his hand up, canting his head to the side as he makes eye contact. It is a simple gesture but understandable. He is asking you to wait outside. Minutes stretch out as Manidus finishes conversing with his fellow until the man leaves and walks past your party. "He's all yours," he says, flashing a roguish smile. And indeed he is. Manidus rises completely naked and covered in sweat before walking toward you, where introductions are made. Then he beckons you to follow him into the apoditarium, or changing area. Ostensibly, Manidus is not a man who likes to be rushed. Nonetheless, you do as bidden and follow him. When Manidus arrives at the apoditarium, he swiftly dons his sandals and then turns to you. "So, what can Manidus help you with, Don't worry, you can be honest." No attention is paid to the man's nakedness as he slowly and painstakingly so gathers up a wooden ladle from a nearby communal basin of stone and begins pouring water on himself. After he is done washing himself, he reveals a nearby cloth from his personal belongings and wipes himself down before dressing. He dons a simple loincloth before putting on a tunic and cloak. Despite the length of the process, he appears to enjoy any residual discomfort you feel watching him. He's just a naked dude, whatever. While he's doing so, you explain that you are sent here because he has the lowdown on Cadaris and his fellows assured you that he would give it to you. Did they now? Interesting lot. All right, we'll discuss it. He continues. Back at the anvil, a place like this has too many eyes and ears. Rather be surrounded by friends and the like. Now, if you will, please lead the way. A stolen glance confirms that Manidus is ready to leave. His frame and exterior are almost immaculate, a curious and stark contrast to what you have grown used to in Scoria's slums. Concluding that you have little choice in the matter, who else would you ask? You do as he bid, leading the way out of the bathhouse and into the streets at the district's edge. In more suitable attire ideal for weathering Scoria's perpetual ashen rain, he brings up the rear as you walk back to the gallows anvil. In half an hour you have returned. Once you enter, a group of laborers from earlier rises to attention and beckons Manidus over. The respect they show for him is palpable. A seat in the middle of a long wooden table is made available for the smith. Friends, good to be among you again. Vagrus, please sit, he says, making himself comfortable. The deliberateness of the arrangement seems to belie a crucial fact. The craftsmen brought you here with intention. There is no use in protestation, so you take up a nearby seat with your commies. So you wish to know about Cadaris. It'll cost you, I'm afraid. He gestures to his friends. You cannot help but notice the establishment is quite busy. 5 bros. Life in the slums is no easy affair. You feel the weight of many eyes probing you at this moment. Violence and intimidation do not seem the wise course of action. Scoria's slums are not patrolled by the Avernus Legion, but this close to the district's edge, you could well be made to look like a nuisance. Besides, the Smelters Guild is connected to the Carpenters Guild. Intimidating, roughing up, or hurting well-known smiths in the heart of their domain is probably not a good idea. Ooh, I like this idea. Persuade him to tell us what he knows by getting rid of a group of uncouth deserters. Succeeded. Manidus merely smiles. Curiously, it happens to be genuine. Very well, Vagrus. I appreciate where you're coming from now. Let us speak plainly then. No one around here is enamored by Cadaris, not least of which because they very rarely engage in smelting or smithing. Oh yes, I know they're part of the Smelters Guild, that's true, and yet these actions do not interest them when certain profitable opportunities present themselves. Rather, they acquire what is needed and go from there. How do they do this, you might ask? Any answer you might muster is soon cut off. Simple. They pound, beat, or hammer. He continues in an almost recreational fashion. Sometimes they hire mercenaries for the larger hustles you see, the kind that are so common in these parts of Avernum, he says, spreading his arms, revealing his chiseled muscular arms. Manidus appears to be enjoying himself. So they need mercenaries sometimes, and mercenaries of a particular character. Of course, in the Slagfort, such underhanded, dubious characters are common. You only need to know where to look. Not the Avernus Legion, mind, he says poignantly. And that, Vagrus, is the end of this story. Use your time wisely and you will find them. Now off with you. I'm beginning to grow bored. He concludes, giving you a dismissive gesture. At least somewhat satisfied with the answers garnered, you thank the man and his fellows, rising to leave alongside your commies. The day has been long, searching and seeking answers in Scoria's slums. Now comes the time to rest. You will have to track down whoever it is Cadaris has been working with, though knowing that they are somewhat within the Slagfort is as much intel as you need. Abstaining from actions you might regret, you rise to leave alongside your commies. The day has been arduous, and you spent it all in Avernum Scoria. Now comes the time to rest. Alright, another day has passed. We'll gain more vigor. Alrighty. So now we would like to go to the Slagfort. Should we talk to the prefectus? No. Let's check the journal. Find unsavory mercenaries in Avernum who can lead you to Cadaris. Okay. Okay. Well, they weren't in the Slagfort. Maybe the Castrum Mercenaria? No. That's where you hire mercenaries. What about the Pandemonium Arena? Nope. Oh, we could go to the watering hole. Here on official business? Fudge. Okay, well, where the heck do we go? The unsavory mercenaries in Avernum who can lead you to Cadaris. Well, wasn't at the Arenum. Arenum? The arena. It's not at the Anvil. That just doesn't make sense. It wasn't at the Carpenter's Guild. The temple? We got some insight from the ossuary. That's fun. It can't. The mage doesn't make any sense. What about the bounty office? Oh, okay. We had to go. I went everywhere else but the bounty office. Okay, ask the more unsavory mercenaries here about work for Cadaris. Mercenaries in the bounty office are not thrilled to see anyone pry into their private affairs, least of all you. For a time, the men and women of the office give you the cold shoulder, many viewing you with disdain and contempt. You are, after all, a Vagrus. Your kind is looked upon with suspicion here. After several hours of trying your luck to no avail, you are beginning to give up, and a realization dawns upon you. These mercenaries are best spoken to when they labor under the delusion that you yourself are a mercenary, at least one of sorts. Naturally, you must bide your time until the current cast of soldierly adventurous mercenaries filter out of the office, but in doing so you remember these people are not the brightest jewels on the dresser. An hour later, most of the others are gone and you see a good target. He is a dim-looking, unsightly, and lithe warrior of tall stature. So you approach under the premise that you and your companions are mercenaries too. He buys it hook, line, and sinker. In fact, he seems eager to speak on the subject. Cadaris? Yeah, mate. Everyone knows where their higher-ups dwell, and they're mercs. But see, they done much like people on their turf. Unless all being said and done, what? You can back up your words. Not gonna lie. You folks look ready to go to bloody war, he says, eyeballing your companions. He is right, they certainly are a motley crew. You play into the ruse perfectly, asking the man for directions into this infamous place, where Cadaris and their errant employees dwell. He begins to explain how to find the place, aptly named the Grimy Hollow, though you will need to navigate the treacherous labyrinthine nature of the deepest slums in Scoria to get there. Persistence will help you find it, or at least that's what he says. Tell him Derry sent you. I ain't working with him on my latest heist, but the tossers know me well enough to grant you entry. You thank the man and quickly excuse yourself. Okay. So back to Scoria. Leave the hill. Scoria. Set out into the slums in the search of the Grimy Hollow. According to your sources, this is where the members of the Cadaris can be found. Okay? The decrepitude of Scoria's slums is not something you get used to. The faces, especially different faces, beggars, slaves, and workers, all, but they wear the same expression, those of the downtrodden and forgotten. Soon you come to a juncture. You know that this is where the slums become truly labyrinthine in nature, but with the knowledge you garnered from the mercenary at the bounty office, you know where to head next. You and your companions weave through the dingy, dilapidated streets and alleyways until you come to a narrow lane, where beggars and ne'er-do-wells languish. It is so restrictive that you and your companions must shuffle through in a single file. As you do, you lay your eyes on the most wretched souls Avernum's Scoria district has to offer. Many are smoking or otherwise indisposed, engaging in unsavory activities, partaking in drugs, or simply whimpering under the weight of their own existence. Finally, you reach the end of the lane where a large establishment of decaying stone beckons. Outside its entrance are two muscled bouncers, who even look upon you with contempt. There is the distinct feeling that you do not fit in here. You are an outsider through and through. Nonetheless, you move with confidence alongside your commies up to the entrance and tell them what the man in the bounty office told you, that Derry sent you. One of the bouncers looks at you with keen eyes to enact violence until the other puts a hand on his shoulder and affirms that he knows Derry the mercenary. Good enough for me, the violent-looking bouncer states and steps aside. Ooh, there's a horse person. Who are these people? Drawing a deep breath and exhaling shortly after, you climb the steps that lead into the Grimy Hollow. As the place opens up, you cannot help but gag at the smell. The reek of tobacco, bogweed, and other more disgusting smells permeates your nostrils. You wonder if you smell feces because it sure stinks like it. Loud voices and unfettered, soldierly laughter filling the room, but in particular, one corner of it where half a dozen mercenaries sit around a small dingy wooden table. Two of their number lean against the wall beside the table. A number of eyes are drawn to your presence, but for now, they pay you no mind. Most appear drunk, pissed, or otherwise inebriated to the point where their faculties are compromised. But you cannot be sure who you are looking for, so you lean on the bar where a rotund woman greets you in an uncouth fashion. Like much of the cast here, she is an unseemly figure, ugly, butch, and unkind. To say she appears rough around the edges would be a compliment. "You gonna stand here, or you gonna guess something?" she asks without an ounce of warmth. Yeah, you'll buy drinks for me and my comies. Occupied at the bar for now, you glance around and listen closely to your companion's hushed murmurs. The source of the earlier stench is revealed. There is a side room where a dirty man squats, seemingly engaged in dropping fecal matter. There is nothing more than a hole in the ground to receive the enormous dirty birds. Gross! Elsewhere, you glimpse at other groups of mercenaries, would-be crafters, and women who are obviously working the punters. Cockroaches and rats scurry about the floorboards unhindered, but no one cares. And yet, above all, your ears and eyes are drawn to the table of laughing mercenaries in the corner. They are particularly loud and seem to be discussing something they find hilarious. "A word," Harvick says, leaning in close. "Look, boss, I know these effers. Classic arrogant merc types all. Send me in, I'll get the know-how we need. Maybe the dirty C-words will let me in on their job," he muses, shooting you a devious smile. His insectoid eyes gleam with malice. You ask the mercenary what he means. "Overheard their conversation, ain't I? Dumb bastards. Give me 10 minutes, yeah? I'll walk away with what they know, guaranteed. I got some bogweed. I know how they work. Easy." You tell Harvick you cannot risk it and instead listen in on their conversation. Yeah, give him the go-ahead. This is interesting. The way Harvick goes about it is masterful. He moves towards the group in a measured, menacing stride before greeting them heartily. Then he pulls the craziest move. He begins trashing and making insulting jokes about you, his Vagrus, and he does not hold back. It soon pays off in a raucous, drunken laughter, and the men haul over another table to create seats for Harvick and the two men who are leaning against the nearby wall. In the meantime, you do whatever is necessary to pass the time, being as inconspicuous and unassuming as is possible. The camaraderie reaches a fever pitch when Harvick reveals a large reefer, just like he said. He came prepared. Another follows in its wake, and before long, the laughter, jokes, and general atmosphere at the table are reaching delirious proportions. The mercenary makes eye contact with you and rises, bidding the men farewell. Some genuinely appear to be crestfallen to see him leaving. "Got it all, boss," Harvick comments in a low, conspiratorial tone when the combined din of the hollow rises once more. "Ain't even hard, dumb fucks. They're hitting a nearby warehouse with the deserters tomorrow near the crack of dawn, they say. Eager as Tartarus, see. Now let's get out of here." You concur and make your way toward the entrance. Aside from the odd glance, you are home safe. The dark gleam in Harvick's compound eyes tells you he is pleased beyond words. You emerge through the door and out into the slum's streets and alleyways. Alright, I think let's pause the episode there. We will pick up right here next time to see where this whole story takes us. So if you guys enjoyed the episode, please click the like button. It helps me out a lot. If you want to see more episodes of Vagrus The Riven Realms or the other videos I have going on the channel, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you have your notifications on so you know when the next videos go live. But until next time, everybody, I hope you had a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye, everybody!